Hey guys, another inbox review for you, this time of the Tamiya M3 Grant Mk1. This particular version was a derivative of the well-known Lee tank, which was used in the American Army and entered sort of their army around about 1940 before they entered the Second World War. And basically this was a different derivative which was used to basically replace most of the early tanks that were used out in North Africa, such as the Crusader, and weren't being that effective, and we were looking to see if we could get something a little bit better with a little bit more armor protection and punch. And so this was bought in, basically mainly to counteract all the Panzer 3s and 4s that were being such a threat at the time. And this particular version was used to great effect, not only at most of the major campaigns, but more readily known in the Battle of El Alamein, and were very effective. And that was until the Tigers and Panthers came in. The reason being they weren't so effective is because of the high profile. They were an easy target and easy pickings against them. But apparently these were not only used in North Africa but out in Burma as well. This particular kit is one I've been after for a while. It's one I recently won on eBay at a very good price. As far as I know, it still is in production. You still can readily get hold of it from Tamiya. I may be mistaken, but correct me if I am on that in the comments. But it's one I've been after for a while, and I would in time like to get the Lee to go alongside it. And it's going to look very good with the Mark II desert version of the Dragon Sherman I've got in my stash. So those two will look very good side to side once they're built. Anyway, without further ado, we get on with the inbox review. But before I do that, I just want to wish all the guys who are doing the VJ Day 48-hour build at ISM, namely Paul Bretland, Mike Cohen, Richard, Jonathan Bellos, etc. So I just want to say good luck, guys. Unfortunately, as I say, I'm going to be working this weekend, so I'm not going to be able to watch you, but I wish you all the best. Okay, and that's basically to mark the 70th anniversary of the end of hostilities in Japan out in the Pacific. Anyway, moving on, we get on with the inbox review. As you can see, it's the old familiar white box art, which is a beautiful little box of art. I do like these range of kits. Also on the side, you've got the other range of Tamiya kits that you can get as well in the 135th Armour range. And if anybody's interested in obtaining this kit, the kit number is 350412200, and I'll just hold that there in case you want to pause it for a minute. Okay. Right, and then obviously on the side, there's a little history about the tank and the kit. Obviously, if you can read Japanese, that's helpful. If you can't, then you're stuffed. There you go. It just shows you this is a genuine import. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, we'll open the box, get the instruction sheet out, and run through that. In fact, actually, I've got the instruction sheet over here. Just remembered. Doom. Anyway, moving on. I'll get it in the correct order. As is familiar with most of the instructions, you've got the box art illustration on the top, and then a big long history about the vehicle itself and what it came up against, such as the Panzer 4 here. And then obviously it runs on around the back here as well as all the other vehicles that were around at the time, including its derivative, the Lee. Okay, or was it? No, yeah, that was the M3 Lee, which is this one here. The way you can tell the difference is the upper turret. This one's got a more pronounced cupola, and this one's more circular. And I must admit, I would love to get hold of the Lee tank as well. And then on the bottom you can see the photograph of a typical British Armoured Squadron going through the North African desert on campaign. Okay, as is the normal case with most armour kits, we basically start with the assembly of the running gear, which you can see right here. There's your main bogies, and obviously you've got the sprocket and idler wheel. This is a similar setup to the Sherman. In fact, the Sherman was a derivative from the Grant and the Lee. Okay, and then obviously it's the assembly of the back plate, which you can see here, along with the exhaust stacks. And then obviously the assembly of the front plate with the two mud guards and the headlights and some of the tools, etc. Then you assemble the 75mm main cannon, which is on the lower deck, and then the assembly of the frontal armour. And then the next process is to add the frontal and rear armour, as well as the bogies and the sprocket and idler wheel to the lower hull. I may well leave the wheels off because obviously it's going to be a lot easier for me to paint. Okay, and then obviously moving on to the next stage, it is a case of the upper main hull, which you can see here. And then obviously you assemble the lower part of the hull for the upper turret, add the hatches, and then obviously add the mudguard to the front of the actual main hull. The engine plate goes at the back here, that's your tool case, and then the rear plate is made up, and then obviously you add the mudguards, and then you're going back to the main upper hull, adding the engine hatch, etc., the toolbox, the rear plate, the radar antennae storage pack, and then obviously you're also adding the frontal vision port, as well as the side loading hatch and the jerry cans. Okay, and if you look on the side of this sheet, you've got a colour guide to the one and only figure that comes with the kit, which is the Commander. And there you go. Alright, and then it obviously shows you how to melt the vinyl tracks together. I, for one, again, will be sourcing aftermarket tracks, because I do not like any of these Tamiya tracks. They're horrible, they don't fit properly, and you don't get that natural sag with them. Okay. Anyway, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. And then obviously again on the side here you've got an illustration of the actual assembled vehicle, looking from the front view, which does look rather good and effective. And then if anybody doesn't know, particularly Hendrik, if you're watching, how to stretch sprue. It's alright, but I'm only kidding. And then obviously the next stage is to assemble the 76mm gun to its main mantlet. Okay, and then obviously the assembly of the upper turret along with the cupola ring and the cupola. And then you obviously put the main gun and mount it to the upper turret, add the hatches. Now you do have the option of having them open or closed, and then there's another jerry can which goes on the left side. And obviously I am going to keep it open, obviously with the Commander out. And then obviously the very last stage of the build is to assemble the main hull to the lower hull, and then add the upper turret as well. Okay. The last case on this instruction sheet again is the colour call out. Obviously all in Tamiya colours to the side here, but again with the Hobby Colour app, if you download that from Play Store, you'll be able to get conversions for Vallejo and any other brand that you're using. And then obviously you've got this lovely camo scheme, which is one of the reasons I bought this kit. And you've got the option of adding whatever brigades you want it to represent as well. And there's your decal placement on the bottom there. Okay, right, now we're going to see what's inside this kit with all the goodies. Right, the first sprue is basically some of the upper hull. You've got, in fact, the part of the lower hull. You've got the main frontal armour there, part of the upper hull here with a vision port for the driver, and then obviously you've got the toolboxes right here for the tracks. There's part of the housing for the 75mm gun, and there's the other part of the housing. You've got your tow rope here as well, which I have to say is not bad. It's nice. Well, it's actually nice casting texture on that as well, although you can source aftermarket if you should so wish. You've got the spade there. I think this is part of the side armour on the front plate. Again, that is part of the front plate as well. And then obviously you've got the housing. This is the one-piece barrel, which I must admit I prefer to a two-half ones with this horrible seam, although there is a bit of a seam on this one as well. I haven't totted up what I'm going to get aftermarket metal barrel. No, I probably more than likely will actually, because you can get set from these from RB models. Then you've got the two headlights that you can see there. You've got both the loaders hatches, which you can see there with the vision ports, which is beautifully cast and lovely and clear. And there's more tools, more armour, plating, which you can see there, more tools, etc. Okay, and that's the first sprue. Another sprue is basically the upper turret. Now, I don't know if there was supposed to be any casting texture on this or whether it generally was a smooth turret on the Grant, but I'll have to do some source material. If it is, then I'll probably have to get some hold of some Mr. Surfacer just to give it that cast texture on there. And then we've got the running gear, which you see here. Lovely cast wheels. They'll look very nicely done, weathered and dusted up. And then you've got your main leader wheel there. That's your sprocket. Okay, and then part the suspension, which you see there. Again, beautifully moulded, which is up to Tamiya's usual high standard. Then you've got the springs there as well. Or is that shock absorbers? It might be. I don't know. So there you go. Third and final main sprue tree is, of course, the upper hull. You've got the various plates there, and that's obviously the 75mm mantler, possibly. Again, I love the rivet detail on this. This has been very beautifully caught. Okay, and then obviously you've got the side plates there, the upper hull, the commander's cupola hatches, and I'm not quite sure, I think they go on the back. There might be some part of the back plate, and the figure actually is not all that bad, I have to say. It's quite nicely moulded. So I'm going to try out my AK flesh set on this, I think. Give it a first time go with it. And obviously you've got the side skirt there, which you can see with a lovely rivet detail on it, so that's very nicely done. And then the back plate with the engine hatch, which you see there. Okay, and then obviously you've got the lower hull, which is very beautifully cast, especially with the rivet detail there. And then obviously you've got the main drive for the frontal sprocket there. So that's very nicely done. And then obviously you've got the detail on the bottom with the escape hatches. Again, I love this rivet detail they've caught on here. Very nicely done. And then you've got the main upper hull. Again, I love the rivet detail on this. It's beautifully moulded. There's not an ounce of flash on this, guys. I suppose you do have the added advantage that if you're a scratch builder, you could possibly scratch build the interior, unlike the Academy kit, which comes with a full interior. And then obviously you've got the engine deck with moulded on grills. I might source some aftermarket, I don't know. And then the access hatches for the loader. Okay, but beautifully cast, I have to say. And then finally you got the vinyl tracks, which I detest like you wouldn't believe, but the detail on them, I have to say, is quite well done, especially on the teeth. The only thing I'll probably use this for is just basically track marks, as if I should decide to do a diorama with this one. And then finally you've got the decal sheet with the various options of whichever brigade you choose to model it in. Okay, getting a little bit shiny, but I'm sure with clear and decal solutions they'll go down fine. Alright, and that in a nutshell, my friends, is the Tamiya M3 Grant Mk1. And to be honest with you, it looks quite a nice, easy build. Very cleanly put together, which is very well engineered, as Tamiya normally is. And I would wholeheartedly recommend you go out and get one. In fact, I'm looking forward to building this. Whether I'll do it this year or next year, I'm not quite sure. But all the same, it's a nice little kit, and if you can get hold of one, by all means do so. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, subscribe and leave your comments. And until then, you guys be good and keep busy on the workbench. See you soon.